Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're replacing the front component speakers on this 2016 Honda Civic. Now in this install we're going to show you how to remove the door panel, factory mid-range in the lower door, and tweeter in the sail panel. Then we'll head over to the bench to show you the parts that we're going to use for the install, including the new speakers, the speaker bracket adapter and harness, and we'll come back here to get everything reinstalled. Let's get started. Jumping into things here, our Civic specifically, this trim doesn't have the factory amplifier, but it still has a component set here. Basically, we have a mid-range 6.5-inch speaker and a tweeter up here in the sail panel. We're going to be replacing both today. First thing we need to do is get this door panel off. There's only one screw, and then the rest of the panel is actually just held in with clips. We have a plastic vinyl tool here, and essentially we need to pop this up to expose that one screw. Just carefully start working this panel up. Easy clips all the way around. Disconnect the harness, just like so. That's going to expose a Phillips screw. Now, like I said before, there's only one screw. There's not even one behind the handle. Our sail panel is behind the door as well, so that can stay. That'll come out later. Now, I have one of these tools to help pop the panel out. You can still use a vinyl tool. You can also use one of these guys as well. Ultimately, we don't want to break any clips, but there's clips all the way around. The panel doesn't hang on the door. It clips on. It also clips up and around the handle. Let's get unclipping. Now at this point I got the bottom basically unsnapped. I'm going to reach my hand up and put some pressure on the back side of the panel to pop the clips loose that are up above here. Okay, lots of clips. If they stay in the door, it's okay. We can remove it and put it back in the panel later on. No other harnesses are on this panel. And like I mentioned before, the handle stays in place, it doesn't move, but there are clip locations that the panel connects to. So keep that in mind. It has to disconnect from this as well. Got one clip that stayed. Let's go ahead and remove our factory tweeter here. There's two clips at the top. Same kind of thing carefully. We're just going to unsnap it. Two clips there. Disconnect your tweeter, just like so. Then finally, you have your 6.5-inch speaker. One screw. Pull that out. We won't be reusing this screw. Our speaker bracket replaces this screw, so this is not needed anymore. Two tabs at the bottom. Squeeze the harness. That comes on free. There's our factory speaker. So with our speakers now disconnected here, let's head over to the bench to show you the parts that we're going to need for our install. Alright, so we're here at the bench. Now the parts that we're using to replace our factory component set is this Alpine aftermarket 6.5-inch speaker component set itself. This comes with two mid-bass 6.5-inch speakers here and two tweeters. We've already done the driver's side, hence there's only one set left. They come in two pairs, so you can do both front doors. To accommodate those in the factory location, for the door speaker, we need the PAC HSB 524. This fixes both a 6.5 and 6 3/4-inch speaker. And our harness adapters, we need the Metra 72-7800. Now, like I said, everything comes in pairs, so you can do the front door. As for our tweeter, there's no harness adapter, nor is there any sort of bracket adapter, but we're going to show you our technique to get it mounted and wired in to the vehicle. All right, so we have everything pulled apart here. Now, this actually, fortunately, we don't have to cut out these tabs here in the center of the speaker bracket. This will still sit 100% flush in there with those in. Additionally here, the mounting point to be behind the speaker when it's mounted. So we will need to go install this bracket in the door first before we mount up our speaker. Here's the screw that's included with the bracket. It'll replace your existing screw and it threads in perfectly. Here's one of our speaker harness adapters. We always add some high temperature test tape, just give a little bit more protection in the door. The smaller ends are your negatives, the bigger ends are your positives, and so these match up nicely. So we added our terminals right there. Now it does have a second pair of terminals, and it acts more so as like a distribution in case you want to power your tweeter off the signal from the mid-range. You can use the existing tweeter wiring to tap your crossover and your tweeter into, or you can simply use the terminals on the back of the speaker, but it may differ based on your trim level. If you have the factory amplifier, it's that factory amp may have built-in crossovers in the amp, preventing a full range signal going to either speaker. So that could complicate things. If you have the factory amplifier, I suggest running your crossover directly off of the tweeter feed. In our case, since we don't have built-in crossovers, since we don't have anything like that from factory, we can snag the full range signal at the mid-range. So all we're going to do is hook our crossover to the second set of terminals here. It's full range at this speaker. Now, like I said, since we're just snagging the full range signal off of the terminals of our speaker, our mid-range speaker, these will plug into that second set of terminals right there. And then what we've done here is we've loomed it in some high temperature test tape as well. Always install your crossover because that's going to limit certain frequencies to your tweeter. And then this connects into our tweeter itself. Now our tweeter's down here. This end was super long. We actually just cut a ton out. We're going to solder it up, shrink it down a little bit with some solder and heat shrink. We cut out about 2, almost 3 feet of wire, just to eliminate a ton of extra bulk. You don't have to do that. We're just doing it to make it look nice and clean. Then we're going to go ahead and get our tweeter mounted in our sail panel. Now concerning the tweeter, so here's our sail panel. We went ahead and just unclipped the tweeter. Couple of options here. You could Dremel this out slightly and actually flush mount this in there. It's almost the exact same size. So instead of doing that, we can still remove the tweeter out of this housing, and then we can remove the tweeter out of the Alpine housing like this. And then what we can do is just swap the inner set for this one and glue it into place, and then this will snap right back into that factory housing. So we'll just get our pick tool here, kind of work it out carefully. We don't want to fracture this at all. Like that. And what we're going to do is put our tweeter in its place. Essentially here, we'll line it up so it's nice and square, but it's the exact same size, and then we're going to use a bit of hot glue to mount it into place, and then it should snap right back into that same spot. Alright, so what we've done here is we got our new tweeter in there, and on the back here just a little bit of hot glue to hold it in place into that bracket, nice and sturdy. And it's removable if we ever have to put in the factory tweeter again. Got everything shortened up here. This end will connect into our crossover harness. Here's our mid-range ready to go. Now, based on this type of bracket, the long screws that come with our Alpine may be too long, so we have some little shorty guys that we're going to use to mount our speaker in our bracket. So with that all ready to go, let's grab our sail panel and our speaker, head to the car to get everything installed. Alright, so we got our speaker all mounted in there, nice and sturdy. We connected our main harness adapter, as you saw there, and our tweeter harness, and we ran that up. We actually just fished it right on through here. Went up here, mounted our crossover, goes all the way up. There's our connection to our tweeter, and then the tweeter mounted itself. So that's all in. That's looking really nice and clean. It's nice and solid in that location. and everything is done. Now, it's always a good idea at this point to double check, do a test, ensure everything's working properly. Then once you confirm it is, go ahead and reassemble the door panel. All right, so this is all done. If you have any questions on what we did here, go ahead and post a comment below. We're also doing the rear speakers, the rear deck speakers. So if you want to see us do coaxials there, we'll link that video in the description. And additionally, we also did a radio install and we have an amp and sub install on this vehicle as well. So all those videos will be linked in the description for your convenience. If you like any of the parts that we used, we'll link those there as well. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you liked what you saw. And don't forget to subscribe and post great content on the channel all the time. We'll see you in the next video.